really pleased about a win on Saturday, and I told the team after the game the thing we had to do was finish, and we haven't finished. We had a big lead there, and then gave up 14 points there in the fourth quarter, in which our defense had played well up until that point. It got in the beginning once we settled down, but we just got to continue to get better. And think about it, you look at us on offense, rush for right at 380 yards. Tice had a big night. A quarterback, Q's always going to have a big night. And even DeErnest, offensive line was very physical at the point of attack. But it's good when you see the rushing yards and just see how physical we play, because that's what we want to hang our hat on, being a physical football team. But we know we have a big test this week with Houston, really similar to us in a lot of ways. You look at the players, most of our players are from the state of Florida. Most of their players are from the state of Texas. But you see just the same type of athletic players that get up and down the field, athletic linemen, really good skill. So it's going to be a really good battle for us, and we know this. We got to go in the game, be prepared to go play, and going to have to play for 60 minutes.
On TV the other night, they put up a map where your players are from. Florida. It's overwhelming. Does that make you pretty happy and kind of the direction you want to go?
Well, you look at it, and you still have three. When you talk about Florida State, and Miami, then you have us battling with Central Florida and FAU and FIU, and there's a lot of schools that play football in this state, but we're able to get the players that we get, and they're from this state, and they're really good football players. And the high school coaches here just do an unbelievable job. Really great, really good coaches in this state.
When you watch Ed Oliver on tape, what impresses you most about him?
Well, I recruited Ed Oliver when we were at Texas, and knew then that he was going to be an outstanding football player, a guy that is really quick off the ball, very aggressive, very physical at the point of attack, and he's hard to block. I would always have thought that he's one of the best, one of the better defensive linemen in the country.
See if kind of you have to game plan more specifically for the most individual players you would?
No, not really. Guys know who they have to block. We're going to run our offense. We're not going to let one player dictate what we do. But he's someone that you better always know where he is.
Coach, as impressive as your guys are on the field, they're equally as impressive when it comes to answering big picture questions and keeping it just to the next game. So I'm curious, in the preseason and now throughout the season, how much have you coached them up on when a reporter comes in and asks about the playoff or looking towards UCF? How to respond to that as just the next game?
Well, it is always about the next game, and you can't, where we started, we were, and I told them there was a target placed on your back at the very beginning, but you can't worry about it. It's always, you got to focus on the task at hand. And whichever game, whomever we playing, it's all about that opponent, and it's never about the big picture. Because what's going to happen, everything will take care of itself. We just got to make sure we handle our business and doesn't slip.
I'm going to ask you that big picture question. So UCF is undefeated. Understanding you're not focusing on them, is it a positive, though, that both of you are kind of on this collision course for this region and kind of just for the overall national attention?
Well, you like it because you look at two non-Power 5 schools in this state that are playing very well. And you look at Miami, who's also undefeated. But we still got some games to go play. They still have some games to go play. And, when it happens, when we get to – and we have to play each other. And that's what I told our guys. I said the best thing about – you have to play each other. So whatever happens, we got to take care of our business. They have to take care of theirs. And we control our destiny. And we know whatever happens when we get to that game, then we'll just see exactly where we are.
Special teams miscues crop up again. It looked like on the second one, Tulane only had 10 guys on the field. Is that what you guys saw on film as well?
Well, we don't. You don't ever see it until afterwards. But with our special teams, we have the field goal was the one that got blocked. When they brought pressure, and it was a technique problem there.
And correct me if I'm wrong. He's supposed to slide down towards the center and just try to stay big to keep the outside guy from coming all the way around. Correct?
No, they came from the edge.
Yeah, there's two
Right.
edge guys,
Mm-hmm.
and then like the guy on the inside was the one who got to it. So Mitchell was supposed to slide down and stay big to keep him from make that extra step on the far side.
No, because they was rushing, which as we look at from our right, so it's the whole line that's sitting there, and everybody's got to inside hand up and punch and make them run the hump and push everything out to
Okay.
Mitchell.
So, Coach, do you think that the country really still hasn't seen the best of USF, like when you say complete game, you have all talent? And kind of a follow-up, how can you get a complete game? Does it just start at practice?
Well, I wish I had that answer, but we haven't played a complete game yet. It's always like either the offense takes off, the defense takes off, the kicking game, and that's what I said. I said, once we get that one game, then watch out, and you're just hoping that now it's more of like when you get started, and I always want to play defense first. Because I just think defense got to set the tone, especially on the road. And you go out there and you make a few stops, and then you take a little while for the offense, and then the offense get going, and then the defense. It's more of just staying focused and guys really locking in. And I tell you, I said our guys the other night. I said that we were up, and on defense we kind of lost our edge when we start talking, chirping. And I said, just keep playing. You don't need to chirp, just keep playing. And then it turned into a chirping game. So now you lose your edge, you lose your focus because you're too concerned about. But the great thing about it is they owned up to it. It's like, Coach, you're exactly right. If we had just kept playing, we didn't say anything the whole time. We were just playing. Then all of a sudden it got into a chirping contest. And then it's when you kind of lose your edge. And when you lose your edge, then you lose your focus, and you lose. It's the energy and it's the passion that you got to play with that all the time.
Going to the chirping and losing your edge. It seems like Quint Flowers is responding more to the trash talking. Do you think that may be a problem that he may be losing his edge? Passing efficiencies.
Well,
I'm.
Well, it's not. I mean, we're dropping a lot of balls too, so it's a combination of things. It don't have nothing to do with his chirping. I mean, he just jumps up and he may say something and he's walking back, but it's not like he's sitting there jawing.
Is it time for that defense to get the love like the offense?
Well, I think the defense is getting the love, and they've been playing very well. And the thing about the defense is what you look at is you have a lot of guys that played a lot last year who really has improved, and the defense have gotten better. And, that you just look at just the whole team, and you see it, and it's all about them just having that unity and guys playing together. And you have so many unselfish players because when you have a quarterback like Q, and the national spotlight is on you, and it's all about, hey, let's go win as a team. What happens with me will happen, but I just want to make sure we go win as a team. When you have that, and you have even Augie on defense, he's not so much in how many tackles he's going to get. He's just concerned about, hey, how good we got to go play good defense, guys. And if it's whomever night it is tonight to go make a play and get tackles, it's that guy's night.
Now that you've been around him 10 months, or more than 10 months, and seen him as a competitor, what have you learned about Quentin just as a competitor, as a teammate?
He's an amazing teammate, and the thing about it is when you have a guy who, like I said earlier, the spotlight is on him, and he doesn't let it bother him. And a lot of times when I've been around players where the spotlight has been on them, and then they kind of separate themselves from the team. They make it about themselves, and he has never made it about himself. I mean, he still joke with guys, he's playful with guys, and you see, like, I've been around those guys where they kind of go sit at their own table. They don't, they may have like one or two guys around them, and it's just their guys. With him, it's nothing like that. I mean, he's the same. From the day I took this job to where I'm at now, he's still that same person, and nothing has changed about him. But that's why you like him and you respect him so much. And I told him, and I said, it's amazing. We're in the position we're in right now, and not. We have a lot of guys that play well, but you are the guy that have put us in this position because you didn't let anything. Because you could have very easily made it about yourself. And I said we weren't playing good early on offense, and you could have just said, oh, okay, this is what I did last year, and I'm not doing that right now. So who's to blame? And there was never any finger point. He's like, you know what, Coach, I got to get better. whereas some guys, could have flipped it and turned it another way. But that's just who he is and just what he's, and you can just, what he's been through, and that's probably, he has the character. The reason why he has the character he has is just because of what he's been through and some of the battles that he's had to face.
Quentin, as you say, he's been through some things. He's quiet and humble. And I think in the past, they've had to, coaches try to bring him out, draw him out. Was he easy to get to know? How's your relationship with him evolved?
It comes back with a lot of players, and when they've been through, some tragic things that's happened in their life, it becomes a trust factor. And sometimes it's I always tell them there's a wall there, and you got to break that wall. You can't always have a wall up in front of you because there's going to be people who's going to try to help you, and there's people who really want to help you. But you have got to step from behind that wall, and you have got to connect also. But, the thing he did is, we had a few conversations, and I knew a little about his history, but not much. But the thing about it is that you have to let him be himself, and you know what type of person he is, and you just don't always just – like some guys try to smother you. You can't smother him. I mean, just let him be himself. When he feels like talking, he's going to talk. And because they just don't want you like pushing it and just nagging and pushing it. Just step back and say, hey, listen, when you want to talk, come and see me. And you can have those conversations with him. But he's very humble. And that's probably, you look at it sometimes and we all seen it. We've seen a lot of kids go through a lot. And for him to continue to play at the level he plays at and be the person that he is truly amazing.
I think it's hard in these day and times for kids who have incredible athletic ability to be humble. Is that a challenge for any kid?
Well, it's a challenge because of social media, and they try to build them up, and sometimes you build them up and you put them on this pedestal, and it is for some, and once they place on that pedestal, and they don't live up to those expectations, then you see a lot of them kind of, they're looking for they're looking for some comfort. They're looking for someone to kind of pick them up and say, hey, listen, just be yourself. You don't have to prove anything to anybody, but they can't handle it because everybody's expecting so much from them. And even with him, you come into this season and everybody, okay, he's a Heisman candidate, he's this, he's that. But he never let that bother him, which is really good. Because he could have, when I was talking about a while ago, he could have very easily said, hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm about. You guys gonna follow me, I'm not gonna follow you. And it never came about him. And I told him, I said, we're in the position we're in because of you. And because how unselfish you have been. And the other players, what happens, other players see how he's gonna react. And so if they see him not complaining and moaning, then they don't complain and moan. They want to, and they're looking for. And when your best player don't say nothing, then those who are sitting there is like, oh, okay, man, he's going, so we might as well just go ahead, come on. But he doesn't. And I've had numerous senior meetings. I actually had one this morning with our team, with our seniors, and I talk about that all the time. And said, guys, our first two, I said your first 2 years here, we played pretty good. Your last two, look what you've done. You have a chance to really do something special, and it's because of the leadership that each one of you have provided.
You referenced that wall that Q puts up. Do you feel like you completely broken through that?
Well, it's not so much him, but it's just like any young man that's been through a lot. There's a wall there, and you just got to find a way. How do you get through that wall? And it comes from conversations, and you got to give them their space, and they'll come around when they feel like that you have their best interests at heart. Then they're going to come around, and they won't come around until then. Because if they feel like that you're making it all about yourself, then that wall is going to stay up, and then now it's hard to break. But you have to have conversations with them, and it's all about conversations. It's about dialogue, and you got to know who you're dealing with, and you got to know the person that you're dealing with.
Do you feel like one of your biggest jobs as a coach, like you've got personalities like Quentin you got to deal with, then you got Darius Type, and you got all these players that have separate personalities. Is one of your biggest jobs as a coach get all that to work together and to be able to, pull and push it at the right times with these guys?
Without a doubt, because you're right, because you're dealing with so many different personalities, and especially when you get the seniors that we have. So you think about it. You got Q, who doesn't say much. Then you have Dearness. Then you have Tice, and Tice is going to talk for everybody. And then you have Cameron Ruff, who's a totally different than the rest of them. Then you have Jeremy Hall. So you have, and then Valdez. So you have to know, like, just on offense, like, okay, what's the conversation I got to have with Valdez, and you can't. You have to know which button to push, and you have to be aware of, okay, I can probably rip Tice, and I can really get after Tice, but I can't get after Q, or I can't get after Valdez like that, because it's just their personalities. And then you go to defense, you have a Sanat who doesn't say not much at all. Bruce doesn't say much. Now, Love will talk. Love will do a lot of talking for him. And then there's Augie who doesn't say much. But Nichols is going to talk. Abraham is not going to say much at all. And Fullwood's not going to say anything. But it's just combining those personalities. But it comes back to they have so much respect for one another that then, those persons, they let Tice be Tice. They know Tice is going to, it's almost like, okay, Tice, let's get him going. And then they know he's going to, talk and everything. But those guys kind of just like, hey, it's they lead by how they play and just how they carry themselves. And the younger players see it. But it's dealing with personality, and that's what you have to manage more than anything. I know the X's and O's, but it's about managing the personalities of the football team too, because you have that group sitting there. Then you have a younger group who think they should be playing, and they're not playing right now. So some of them are upset, and you're going to get your turn, but they don't realize, what, your turn is coming, not this year, but it's going to come. So it is about managing personalities and dealing with dealing with the abilities and talents of all of them.
Is that one of the biggest things that a young coach has to learn? I can see where a coach might come in and say, okay, I've got the system, I'm going to force everybody into my system to do it my way, and they have to learn, hey, wait a minute, I've got to deal with these people, and if I just push everything on them my way, this isn't going to work. Is that one of the toughest things to learn?
And see, what happens a lot of times with young coaches is that they step into it, and they do. Instead of them trying to make it about the players, they make it about themselves, and they just feel like, I got this system, and this system is going to work. No, your system is going to work when you get those guys to buy into your system. Okay, you can come in there and, hey, you got this great system, but if those players don't buy into that system, then you can call anything you want to call, and it's not going to work. But it is you have to manage them, and you have to manage your players, and you have to know the personalities of all of them, and you have to know how to deal with them. Like, I call Ruff a politician. I just think that Cameron Ruff, one of these days is going to be a politician, just how he carries himself, and you can say something to Ruff, and he can say something, and it's almost like, all the guys it's almost like E.F. Hutton. They're going to listen to him because they have the respect for him, and they can't, they know who he is and what he represents, and he's on our SAC here, and he does so much with the university, and he's so involved. But they love him and they respect him for that. And whereas some of them don't do it, but they respect Ruff for doing it.
Can you tell us physically what Kirsten Johnson's been dealing with and whether he'll be back this week?
Well, he practiced, Joy. He practiced Sunday. We came out and did some walkthrough. He practiced a little today. And it's just his is more of he took a hit here in the chest, and so we're just trying to make sure that that he don't that if he takes another one, he's going to be able to take. We haven't had a chance to hit him there, but we're not going to hit him there. We won't know until we put him out there in the game.